welcome back to another episode of SNEED-CAST Industry Update, the series that keeps you updated with our ever-changing industry. For those of you that have been watching the series for a while now, you know how this goes, but for those that are new, welcome. We'll be covering the latest in manufacturing, packaging, coating, sustainability, and much more. I'm your host, Alexa, and today we'll be discussing topics ranging from reducing methane emissions to decarbonizing the beef supply chain, to putting a halt to forced labor, and finally improving your warehouse management systems using drones. So let's begin. Beef producers are leading the way toward the future of sustainable agriculture. They also currently hold the ability to mitigate methane emissions that affect climate change. In order to recognize these efforts and enable reduction value to be quantified, Cargill, an American global food corporation, has partnered with Trees Consulting to develop a gold standard approved beef methodology that offers the global beef industry a framework for measuring methane emissions reduction using feed supplements that have been incorporated into beef cattle diets. The gold standard certification process allows climate and sustainable development initiatives to quantify, manage, and maximize their impacts toward climate security. It also requires verifiable impact toward 3 or more of the UN Sustainable Development Goals. The new methodology has defined a set of parameters that beef producers can now adopt to quantify reductions in methane emissions. Methane is a greenhouse gas that is derived from the enteric fermentation, also known as the digestion process, and it can be expelled through burping as well as manure handling. The new methodology is now available for beef producers worldwide to quantify, audit, and verify methane reductions, enabling them to register their greenhouse gas mitigation project for gold standard certification. Gold Standard's verified emissions reductions can be traded in carbon markets, allowing credit purchasers to directly support the projects. These efforts can also be recognized in corporate value chains, whereby beef producers and food companies account for the reduction in supply chain greenhouse gas emissions, which contribute to their Scope 3 targets. As a leader in animal agriculture and the beef supply chain, Cargill is in an ideal position to support its network of beef producers with the resources and innovation they will need to meet sustainable challenges. Thanks to Cargill's Reach for Reduction program, a holistic approach is being taken to methane reduction by uncovering the potential of feed management and nutrition to do more with less. This helps to ensure food security while protecting the planet. Even though methane emissions through the digestion process are a normal occurrence, Cargill recognizes there's an opportunity to reduce the intensity of methane through its global animal nutrition business. Cargill is working to accelerate progress by supporting producers with managing on-farm productivity to improve feed conversion rates, optimizing animal health and nutrition, and innovating with new additives and solutions that reduce methane and nitrogen emissions directly. For beef producers who are adopting these technologies, the new methodology will enable them to quantify the reduction of methane emissions accurately and can provide them with opportunities to valorize their efforts. According to Cargill's Global Ruminant Sustainability Lead, Joanne Sharp, we know that the industry is looking for more accurate tools to measure methane reduction. As producers look at their current levels of production efficiency and work towards sustainability goals, we are committed to finding ways to ensure they can be recognized and rewarded for their efforts. So, how does this new methodology work? In practice, projects using the new methodology first establish a baseline for emissions during business as usual activities for a minimum of 3 continuous years. The cattle given feed supplements must be clearly identified and tracked over the course of the project. The project crediting period is set at 5 years and can be renewed for an additional 5 years, excluding the baseline years. With the new greenhouse gas emission reduction methodology in play, we're sure to see more agriculture giants adapting this structure in an effort to keep our planet safe. The push to protect our planet continues as Grassroots Carbon, a pioneering leader in carbon removals in U.S. grasslands, is thrilled to announce a partnership with Nestle, which just so happens to be a global leader in nutrition, health, and wellness. The new collaboration aims to support regenerative land management practices and remove carbon in Nestle's U.S. supply shed, with a primary focus on enhancing soil health and significantly reducing carbon dioxide emissions. Grassroots Carbon and Nestle recognize the critical role that agriculture, especially livestock production, plays in our ecosystem and the subsequent impact on climate change. Grassroots Carbon works with ranchers to measure and certify carbon storage and monitor and measure carbon levels in their soil. Over the next 15 years, the duo will measure and certify additional concealed carbon. But measuring carbon isn't the only thing this alliance brings to the table. In fact, regenerative land practices are going to be implemented under this new collaboration, specifically those like rotational grazing, cover cropping, and holistic range management are all being implemented because they have demonstrated their potential to restore soil and food system health. enhance biodiversity, and sequester carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. By implementing these practices, both Grassroots Carbon and Nestle aim to make a significant positive impact on the environment while simultaneously supporting the livelihoods of local land stewards. Henk Muijer, co-founder of Grassroots Carbon, said, "Building a sustainable future takes everyone. Partnerships with leaders in the sustainability movement like Nestle are crucial to our shared mission of combating climate change. Through the investment into carbon removals, we can help ranchers across the U.S. restore grasslands." We're glad to hear that more companies are taking action to improve the world around us, and we're sure to see even more in the coming years. We can all agree that in order to create a just and sustainable food supply system, we must first begin by eliminating forced labor. However, this is challenging, seeing as though many of us don't know much about the labor conditions involved in producing our food. In fact, it's possible that the people who picked and processed some of the items we consumed have worked in conditions that involve force, fraud, coercion, or debt bondage. In a study published by Nature Food, researchers at the Friedman School of Nutrition, Science, and Policy at Tufts University and the University of Nottingham Wright's lab calculated the risk of forced labor across all aspects of the U.S. food supply, all with the exception of seafood, of course. In the study, they found that the majority of forced labor risk came from animal-based proteins, processed fruits and vegetables, and discretionary foods such as sweeteners, coffee, wine, and beer. They also found that 62% of the risk of forced labor came from production or processing that occurs on U.S. soil. Jessica Decker-Sparks, VG14, assistant professor at the Friedman School and senior author on the paper, said, "We often think of our risk here in the U.S. as coming from imports, but there's plenty of risks that come from our domestic food production as well." She then goes on to say, "And that's important because some of the most effective tools we use to try to eliminate or mitigate the risk of forced labor in the U.S. are trade bans or trade sanctions. In other words, we need to start tackling the problem from within." Think about it this way. While on the news we see plenty of lower income countries, particularly those based in chocolate and coffee industries, dealing with forced labor, here in the U.S., poverty, language barriers, and precarious immigration statuses can create populations that are just as vulnerable to exploitation as those found overseas. For example, visas for seasonal agricultural laborers tie workers to a single employer who they are often dependent on for housing and transportation. In other words, workers don't have a lot of options if an employer withholds pay or verbally, physically, or sexually abuses them. By highlighting the aspects of our food supply where the risk of forced labor is high, both domestically and abroad, researchers are hoping to provide legislators and companies with the information they need to take action to prevent these kinds of abuses. Before action can be taken, though, research is being conducted to inform policymakers how we can change regulation, monitoring, and enforcement of forced labor prevention. This research is also being passed along to businesses and other key supply chain characters who have the power to change conditions, to mitigate risk, and collaborate with workers to do so. Researchers have found that risk is widespread in the U.S. food system. Many of the high-risk products are hand-picked or require significant processing. It's important to note that the end goal isn't to get consumers to stop purchasing a particular food, but to prompt the systematic changes needed to create a food system that works for everyone. Researchers have stressed that efforts should be on guaranteeing decent work, not just eliminating forced labor, the most extreme version of worker exploitation. In the U.S., worker-driven social responsibility programs such as Milk with Dignity and Fair Food Production Program, In the U.S., worker-driven social responsibility programs such as Milk with Dignity and the Fair Food Program have made noticeable improvements in labor conditions at participating dairy and produce operations. They have set the example and provided a model that has the potential to be replicated and scaled up to help eliminate exploitative practices across other food industries. We're sure that everyone can agree that regardless of the job or industry an individual works in, everyone is entitled to fair employment and working conditions. And when change on the horizon, we're sure to see improvements in a couple of years. Are you familiar with the sheer panic and frustration that set in whenever you misplace something that you all of a sudden need? Well, if you work within the realm of manufacturing and misplace something, it could actually cost you a couple thousand. In fact, it's estimated that automotive manufacturers lose approximately $22,000 per minute or $1.3 million per hour whenever they experience a line-down situation due to lost inventory. When dealing with lost inventory and line-down situations, manufacturers will typically purchase teams to expedite the materials needed to get the line back up, which ultimately leads to larger waste across inventory, overproduction, and skill utilization. However, what if there was a way to ensure the accuracy of your warehouse management system, manufacturing execution system, or enterprise resource planning data to make sure that inventory could be tracked more quickly? with the global warehouse market expected to grow at 7.7% compound annual growth and reach $1.26 trillion by 2030, manufacturers are looking to turn toward drone-powered warehouse inventory monitoring. So, how is it that drone-powered inventory monitoring in your manufacturing facility will help to decrease inventory loss? The way that it works is the inventory monitoring software maps your storage locations, sets up your drones, and then you can use the software via a digital dashboard to determine locations to scan for specific pallets, lot codes, license plates, expiration dates, empty locations, and more. The drone takes the data, flies autonomously, and gathers the data you need rather than sending a worker or team out. Once the drone finishes the task, the data is uploaded onto a dashboard, which you can then compare with your warehouse management system. Some dashboards will even let you set inventory actions, which are a to-do list for your staff. With some vendors and software, you can set up drones to scan overnight while the rest of your staff sleeps. This is a perfect solution for both the front end and back end of the manufacturing process, specifically for the manufacturing line to ensure there's enough inventory for production and in the shipping warehouse, so companies can find the inventory they need. At Gather AI, the proprietary artificial intelligence allows the drone to fly in the warehouse with no GPS, and their learning machine algorithm analyzes inventory pictures to identify the information the warehouse operators need. The more warehouses they deploy, the better the AI and ML get. Before you buy a drone or a fleet of drones, though, it's important to know that this solution is ideal for companies that store their inventory on pallets or racks. What other benefits are enticing manufacturers to integrate drones into their warehouse management systems? A key benefit of this technology is faster, more efficient inventory monitoring, which means better first in, first out management, rotation, space optimization, and overall it leads to improved productivity, which in turn means lower costs. Normally, when cycle counting is done manually, the average worker is only able to scan up to 60 items per hour. A drone, on the other hand, can scan 900 items per hour. This increases productivity by 15 times. If that sounds great, then you will be thrilled to know that one person can operate 3 drones at a time, making it possible to conduct full facility inventory far more frequently. Not to mention that with drones, you could potentially reduce or eliminate the need for physical inventories. Another benefit of this technology is that employees can resolve inventory errors from their desk, which ultimately frees up their time for more value-added activities like researching variances, auditing, and training to support operations. It seems that automation and innovation have struck again. We're glad to see that every aspect of the manufacturing process is being simplified, and we're sure that this is just the beginning. With just under a month left, anticipation is building as we prepare for the highly anticipated Pack Expo in Las Vegas. Mark your calendars for September 11th to the 13th, where the expo takes center stage. Join us at booth N9530, where we'll showcase an impressive lineup including our renowned SNEED-Jet coders and cutting-edge SNEED pack packaging systems. As the countdown begins, stay tuned for our exclusive How to Maximize Pack Expo email and blog. And who better to tell us about Pack Expo than our VP of Sales and Marketing himself, Ken. With over a decade of attending trade shows, if anyone can fill us in on what to expect, it'd be him. So, without any further ado, let's hear from you, Ken.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Of course, good morning. Okay, Ken, so with over a decade of experience of attending trade shows, why is it so important that we're going to Pack Expo, or what can you tell us about the show?
Right, yep, so I was looking up some stats this morning on the website, seeing how things are progressing for the show, and right now it's pacing for having pre-pandemic levels in terms of attendees. As of week-over-week comparison, there's actually more registrations this year than there were in 2019, the last show before the pandemic, so that's obviously exciting to see. Going to be a very busy show, so definitely be prepared for that. There's over 2,000 exhibitors registered, so lots of different opportunities to be able to see different types of equipment and speak to experts. And then from what I've seen this year, as you know, Alexa, and you've covered a little bit here on your program, is we've had an extensive trade show tour so far this year, doing a lot of smaller regional shows throughout the country as well as internationally. And what I've seen at those shows is just a very precipitous increase in robotics, AI, cobotics, and such, and automation, more and more at every single show. So I expect to see quite an impressive front of automation, robotics, and how AI is going to continue to impact the evolution and development of Industry 4.0.
Right. And now that you're mentioning everything that other industries are bringing to the table whenever it comes to Pack Expo, what would you say that it is that SNEED Coding Solutions brings to Pack Expo?
Yeah, so this year is going to be pretty exciting. As you know, we've expanded a lot in terms of our product offering at SNEED Coating. The company was founded on core product line coating and marking equipment for Best Buy dates and such. And over the last year, we've expanded drastically into packaging equipment with our new SNEED Pack line, including case sealers, case erectors, labeling machines, production lines, and such. So this year, we're really excited. The booth is going to feature a lot of these machines, these new equipment, to be able to highlight and demonstrate for customers how we're able to, for the most part, really present and deliver a turnkey solution for them if that's what they're looking for, or also just one component at a time, depending on where they're at and what they're needing.
Right. And what would you say is the benefit to companies like SNEED Coating Solutions or small to medium-sized businesses attending Pack Expo?
Yeah, absolutely. So, especially for attendees, I think that Pack Expo is a once-a-year opportunity for you to be able to go to an environment where you can meet different vendors and have side-by-side comparison and conversations with vendors of different types of equipment. You can have hands-on demonstrations. You can see the equipment running. A lot of these companies, they're going to have big booths with big equipment on display. PMMI has also done a wonderful job really expanding in terms of additional benefits for attendees at the show. So we have over 100 plus sessions, educational sessions across 5 different stages, including a new production, innovation, and sustainability stage. As we've seen a lot in the packaging media, sustainability is a really hot topic within the industry. So a whole stage dedicated to educational sessions around packaging sustainability. This will be the second year of the Emerging Brands Summit, which is a really neat little program that PMMI has launched, specifically catering to small to medium-sized businesses. So that's, of course, a lot of our customers fit that scope there. Really a way for you to get two shows in one. There's the Emerging Brands Summit, which is very much specific to business growth and entrepreneurial type challenges and such within consumer packaged goods manufacturing. Is really neat for those that are interested in that. And then, my favorite part about the show is just the networking, being able to be face-to-face. As our company, we have customers all across the country, North America as well. And so just being able to finally be able to sometimes meet some people that you've been speaking to or working with for a long time over the phone or via email and such. So just having that face-to-face contact and conversation is always going to be really, really beneficial. And just, expanding who you know within the industry, and maybe it's not the right time, or maybe you don't need, necessarily need that person's services right then and there, but just being able to expand that old school, what we used to call the Rolodex for our business cards. Of course, now everything's electronic, but that's essentially it. Lots of different benefits, lots of different features and such within the show for attendees, other than just seeing the equipment.
Alrighty, Ken, thank you so much for all of this great information. It's definitely going to be useful once Pack Expo actually gets here. For all of our customers and attendees that are planning to attend Pack Expo, we actually have a great upcoming segment on how to maximize your time at Pack Expo. And we have an accompanying blog and email coming out with it, so make sure to stay tuned. Stay tuned for our next episode of SNEED-CAST Industry Updates, and like always, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell down below to stay up to date with all of our great content. Follow our social media platforms to see all of our updates as we continue on our We're Coding Everywhere tour. Also, let us know what topics you'd like to see us talk about here on the show. We look forward to hearing from you all. Bye, guys.